Hello, beautiful people. My name is the Angel Eve, and I'd like to welcome you to Responding to Life this Wisdom Wednesday. And tonight we are going to discuss about forgiving oneself. And I am joined by my co-host, the lovely, the beautiful Victoria Nkatha. Karibu sana, Victoria.
Thank you, Mama. How are you?
W- I'm fine. We've missed you.
Well, she does a wheelie. When your body decides to go off on you, it decides to bring
Yeah.
it back on. You can't switch it back on. So
Mm.
we're
How
still
are you feeling now?
recovering. We're still recovering. Of course, cannot pull me down. Cannot pull me down. We must go on. We must go on. We must go on. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
that's the spirit. I am well. I am doing well. I am grateful to God. Yeah,
And
responding to life every day.
And you see, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. Do you know
Yeah.
when you started responding to life, it was just you know, just any word. And until we grew Kidogo, that's when I really understood the meaning of, excuse me, of what responding to life actually means and what it does and how we do it every single day. So, as you are
Mm.
here in the comment section, we are waiting for you to comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Share the broadcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend as we dig deeper into responding to life, all about forgiveness. Now, Eve, take us through. What are we
Mhm.
today?
We are discussing about forgiving oneself. Most often than not, we forgive other people, but we forget to forgive ourselves.
Mm-hmm,
And like people can hurt you,
mm-hmm.
or you can hurt other people and you are weighed down by guilt,
Yeah.
and you never forgive yourself for mistakes that you have made.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here to discuss about it, like understanding what is forgiveness, like what is forgiveness. Yeah.
No, start with explaining to us what is forgiveness, Eve. What is forgiveness to you?
Forgiveness to me is a choice. This is something that you choose to do. It's a voluntary thing. It's an internal process of um, understanding what is happening,
Mm-hmm.
like the action that has actually occurred. Maybe you've done something, or maybe someone has done something to you, and you are processing it internally, and you have decided to let go of these negative emotions,
Mm-hmm.
the resentment, the anger, the bitterness, and you have decided to let go of all that emotion. And most people think that because you've decided to forgive, it means that you're okay with what has happened. But in the true sense, it's just a way of being able to move forward. Like, you first of all understand what's going on, you come into terms with it, you acknowledge what has happened, you're honest with yourself, and then you forgive, you let go of these emotions, the negative emotions. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I understand forgiveness is. What about you, Victoria? What is your definition of forgiveness?
So I'm going to come in with a little bit of how psychologists define forgiveness, and how
Mm-hmm.
I feel about it, which is literally the same thing. So we're
Mm-hmm.
told we're told that forgiveness is when a person decides
Mm-hmm.
to let go of feelings of resentment and to some degree hatred, or um, feeling that you want to do something harmful to someone simply because they've done something harmful or they've hurt you, right? So they
Yeah.
state that it is letting go of, or a deliberate decision, and this is
Mm-hmm.
the key word: deliberate decision. You are intentional about
Mm-hmm.
releasing anger, releasing emotions, or feelings of, as I said, some of us want to do people wrong simply because they did us wrong, and that is seeking revenge, right? um
Yeah.
Someone, or sometimes it's even more people, um and this is independent of whether or not
Mm-hmm.
they have asked for your forgiveness. And I think that is
Yeah.
important to note. Some people usually feel that you can only forgive simply because somebody has asked for forgiveness. That is what people usually.
Mm,
Well, it's completely independent of whether somebody came to me and asked me, "Yo, um, please forgive me," or "I apologize." And we'll see that in like a video that I did earlier on
mm.
today. Now, Eve, do you feel that forgiveness needs to be earned?
To be honest, I have come across so many personalities, and I've come to the understanding that not everyone is going to prove themselves that they are sorry, that they are remorseful. And if you believe that forgiveness has to be earned, you will be expecting something that might not happen. And that is creating a room for disappointment. And I believe that I actually like how you said it. You forgive regardless of whether someone asked for forgiveness or not.
And you see, one of the things is that a lot of people also put forgiveness into religion. Some people use when they talk about forgiveness, they often talk about it from
Mm,
a religious angle. But forgiveness, this is the thing, forgiveness has nothing to do with how much faith you have or which faith you're in or whether or not you're faith based. Forgiveness is actually psychological, and that is what a lot of us
mm,
do not realize. When you're harboring in feelings, let's say for instance Eve messes me up, right?
mhm, mhm,
And I am holding on to a grudge, and I'm holding on to this grudge. Do you know, just like jealousy,
mhm,
and forgiveness is also a cancer, just like jealousy.
mhm.
I usually say that jealousy, and we know jealousy is like drinking poison and waiting for the person who you're jealous at to die. The same thing with unforgiveness. You're literally sitting and harboring in things within you, and you're not
Mhm.
letting go, and you're thinking that the other person is probably suffering because they should know they have done you wrong, or they know that they have done you wrong, and they haven't come to apologize, so you think that the person is suffering, right? You're the only one who's suffering
Yeah.
with your heavy heart. You're the only one who's suffering about with your heavy heart. I want you in the comment section to tell us, what is forgiveness to you? What is forgiveness to you? Talk to us. And before we even go forward, um, Yokabi GK Kamal says, "Good evening, ladies. Good evening, Yokabi, and thank you for joining."
Hi.
And this is my aunt. She says, "Good job, guys. I wish I wasn't going to work. I would love to hear more on this topic. Do you record the show?" Yes, it is recorded, so you can
Yeah.
definitely watch it on the profile later on. Awakening the Life Within You says, "I forgive for selfish reasons. One, to guide my heart with all diligence. Secondly, for my peace of mind." And that's very, very important. I feel that
Mhm,
forgiveness benefits me more, better. Yes, it's true. That's what
mhm.
forgiveness is to me. Self.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I
Mm,
think it's a good kind of selfishness. What do you think, you?
mm. I actually think so because let me tell you something, and I don't think we've discussed this kind of personality before. And you know, there are people like narcissists and most toxic people who do not feel remorse at all because they do not acknowledge that they are wrong. So if you harbor that resentment and bitterness and anger, it's like, let me give you an instance. It's like when you pour a drop of ink in water, it's going to color the entire water. It's going to discolor it's going to spread that uh, color all over the water.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with what Victoria said. And if you harbor that inside you,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're poisoning yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're poisoning yourself. And
Sure.
it's like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders and you expect that you're going to be able to move forward. The
Mm-hmm.
point, one of the most important reasons of why you should forgive is because it will help you to move
Mm-hmm.
forward because it you might be forced to retain
Mm-hmm.
um, or remain in the same
Mm-hmm.
state of mind, and you might not be able to move forward. You will remain in the past.
Hmm.
Well, everything in your life doesn't wait for anyone.
If you're
Yeah.
going too fast, you're going ahead of me. You're going ahead of me. You're going ahead of the program. Relax,
Sorry,
relax,
sorry, sorry.
no, no, but it's completely okay. It's entirely fine. Miss K says,
Yeah.
forgiveness for me is a decision I make deliberately to let go of feelings of hate towards someone. And I think, you see,
Mm,
right there, first and foremost, even
mm,
the words themselves, hate. You see, you're harboring hate. Do you know how heavy it is to harbor hate towards someone? It's a lot. It's a lot of
yeah.
to harbor hate, and you're holding on to that hate, and you think that it's a problem to someone else. It's a problem to you. You are walking around with a ball of anger and hatred. Do you know how heavy hatred is?
Mm,
As in, you look at this person, anything that reminds you of this person is just, oh, you're
uh,
feeling. Even a song, you can listen to a song, you're just listening to a song and it's reminding you of Eve, and you just
oh,
because you haven't forgiven them. Yani, anytime
yeah.
I listen to that song, every time I see that color, every time I see that face, every time I see that picture, or even there are people who even liken people to, or rather associate people to situations, right, or places. Let's
Yeah.
say I go to some shop that's you and I go to together, and let's say you and
Mm,
I have gotten, we I am not forgiving you. um I will literally either stop going to that shop, or I will literally feel every time I go to that shop, I am, it's like my blood is boiling. Have you ever not liked someone and then every time you're reminded of the person, your blood boils? Your blood, do you know? Like
And you know what's the worst thing, Victoria? You know what's the worst thing, Victoria? Like you will constantly be reminded by this of this person.
Mhm.
Like everything you come across,
Exactly.
everywhere you go, like
Exactly.
there will be something. There will be something, and
Mhm.
it's like it's chasing you around.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
have you ever felt that heaviness you feel when you
Yeah.
are angry at someone? There's a certain heaviness that you feel in your heart. You feel as though you're carrying like a 20 or 100 kg bag
Mhm.
on your back.
Mhm.
And I really wish that on anyone. And don't wish it upon yourself. As in,
Mhm.
no.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's really it's a lot, as in for someone to have to harbor so much. Yeah, it's so much easier to
Yeah.
do. And let's go on. Forgiveness. Emmanuel says, hi Emmanuel. Oh, thank you for
Mm.
watching. These are those people you knew when you were still a teenager. Forgiveness is
Oh,
dying
wow.
to self. Forgiveness is dying to self. And I think that's pretty
Mm.
deep. That's very, very deep actually.
Yeah.
It's very deep, and I love that. I love that. I cannot even
Mm.
emphasize on that because it speaks on itself. It speaks for itself. Forgiveness is dying to self, and we're going to look at that
Mm.
also in another section, but just not today. Forgiveness to me is simply being human. It's the right thing to do and the right way to coexist with other people. Forgiveness is peace. Yes, it is. Yes.
Mm.
And I love the fact that he says that it's the right way to coexist with other people. Imagine if I, and this is the thing, people will do you wrong. Eve will do me wrong.
Mm.
Jacob will do me wrong. Yokabi will do me wrong. Do you imagine how miserable my life is going to be walking around feeling some type of way about everybody? As in, I cannot relate to anybody simply because I'm pissed off. Anyhow, the next question, Eve, that we have
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is, we reckon it's important to forgive others. That is what we've been talking about the whole time. But now,
Yeah.
this topic is actually forgiving oneself. And I want us to go into that. We reckon it's
Mm.
important to forgive others, but what about ourselves? Eve, have you ever been so angry and mad at yourself? And tell me what did you do and how did you go about it?
Um, uh, to be honest, I think I've done so many things. But I don't know whether I have a story specifically. But I know that feeling of feeling like you're inadequate. Like, why did I have to do that? Like I'm not accepting who I am, or even what my thought process was. And let me tell you something. You see, when you haven't dealt with a past trauma or a situation, sometimes you end up doing things and you look at you look at, like, I know, like, I look at myself in the mirror and I wonder, who is that person? Who is that person? Like, why would I do that? Why would I hurt someone else? Yeah, why would I hurt someone else? And then you come to realize, maybe it was self defense, because maybe I misunderstood the situation and I decided that I'm going to hurt someone, in the process. And it was, oh, maybe I can give an example. When I was in high school, we did this modeling. Okay, I used to model in high school. I still model. And there was this lady who she was actually curtain raising one of the other models, and she borrowed one of my outfits. And I remember when after the show, the next day we were cleaning up the hall, and you can imagine like how dirty a hall is. And I am thinking that, oh my god, my clothes are still with this lady. So I went there and I found my clothes in the middle of trash. Like, it was it was a skirt and a very nice top, and I found my clothes in the middle of that trash. And I remember I was so angry, and I didn't understand, like, how can someone be that careless? Like, why will they do that? And in my mind now, I actually this is a very good story, because it's exactly what we need for this topic, forgiveness. What I did not forgive the lady. So I went to her, I asked her where my clothes were, and I wanted to punish her. And what I did is that I went, cleaned my clothes, and packed them in my bag. But I wanted her to look for my clothes. So I made her look for them. And it went so far. And afterwards, like, I think I have thought about this like a few years ago, and I asked myself, like, why would I do that? Like, not everyone is as the way you are. Like, that's one thing I've come to realize with maturity. Like, we are not the same. People do things differently. Or maybe she's a sanguine. Like, the moment she's done with the show, like, her mind was not there. Like, even she never even thought about the clothes, or maybe she never. But at that point, that hurt me so deeply. But you know what's happened? The lady, didn't have an issue. I'm the one who had the issue, and I had harbored so much anger within me, and that was so wrong of me. Yeah. And I think it is important to forgive that person, and then afterwards I had to learn to forgive myself for that story, because I remember I my reaction, or even how I decided to go about the story, wasn't good at all. And I wish I can, if she ever watches this, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry for what I put you through. And I understand that every single person makes a mistake. Back to you, Victoria. Like, what is it that you've ever done
Mm-hmm.
that makes you, like, you looked at yourself and wondered, like, who is that person?
Let me tell you, there's so many things. I think one of the points where I honestly did not forgive myself for a long time was in a relationship that ended and I didn't get closure. So I went
Mm-hmm.
around thinking that I was the problem, and I judged myself over a very long time regarding myself. And I used to hit myself and used to constantly think that I'm unworthy and so much more. So there was a lot that went through my mind in that period. Instead of healing, I was destructive
Mm-hmm.
in terms of my heart, myself, my being. I was constantly taking jabs at myself. And
Wow.
it was very hard to forgive myself. Mind you, I had let go of the person. I had completely forgiven the person for whatever they did. However, who I didn't forgive was myself. I took time to
Wow.
actually make myself understand that you are not the problem. You're not the problem. But before getting to that point, I mean, we all self-assess, as Nyokabi taught us on last week's show. We self-assess, and it's very, very important.
Mm.
But there's a point where there's a thin line between self-assessment and self-judgment, where it's really you're punching yourself, and that comes from you not forgiving yourself. You see, all these things that we're discussing in regard to harboring hate, harboring ill thoughts, harboring very, very negative um feelings towards other people. Do you know we also do harbor that within ourselves, within
Mm.
our individual and our how we perceive ourselves. Now, one of the questions before we go deeper into ourselves, I want to answer this question that Benson brings in. Benson says, "Why is it so hard to forgive? Sometimes, maybe most of the time, could it be that we do not understand what is forgiveness?" I don't think that we do not understand what forgiveness is. I think most of us understand what forgiveness is, but the fact that it's hard comes from the fact that we are selfish human beings. And what do I
Yeah.
mean by this? I mean, we all care about our emotions. We all care about how we feel towards situations. We all care about how we are, and nobody likes to feel bad. So when people do bad things to you, you automatically, all your emotions, all your everything about you goes into defense mode. Have you ever seen when people are coming to attack, when there's war, you set up a huge wall, you set up your guns, you're ready to fight, as in you're ready to, and that's human nature. The same thing happens to you when you can see that, hey, hapa naenda kupigwa character development. I am about to be given character development of my life, the
Yeah.
way I was given character development. I kid you not. The moment you see that you're on your way to getting hurt, or somebody has hurt you, everything in you becomes defensive. You forget that we talked about
Mm.
forgiveness. You forget the right way to go. You forget that we had discussed do not hate, and you should not, you forget it all, because your human nature tells you, you know what, I need to fight. I need to, I need to seek vengeance. Consider those people who are very hard to hard to tell that you don't need to seek vengeance at any situation,
Mhm.
because their human nature is, you do, I do, eye for
Mm-mm.
eye, teeth for tooth, and so on and so forth. And it really goes like, hey man, you're not gonna do me like that, you're not gonna do me like that. I'm not gonna. And a lot of people usually see people hurting them and them not doing anything about it as weakness. So for instance, if Eve hurts
Mhm.
me and I don't do anything about Eve and I don't hurt her back, she will probably think that she's stronger than me. That's the attitude a lot of us walk around with. And that's why it's so hard to forgive. That is why it's very, very hard to forgive. If I'm going to look at my strength, and we want to test each other's, who is this and that and that and that, right? We want to see between Eve and I who can hurt the other the most. That is where the problem lies. Not because we don't understand what forgiveness is, not because we don't understand the whole concept of forgiveness, but because human nature, human nature is boom bam. And you don't want, none of us wants to seem as the weak one. None of us wants to
Yeah.
seem as if we are the we are just there. Everybody wants to
Mm-mm.
show, yo, I'm the man. You don't talk to Victoria anyhow. You don't do Victoria anyhow, and Victoria will come at you. That's human nature. It takes extraordinary and intentional, just as we defined before. It takes intentionality to actually say, I'm gonna go against what my feelings and my emotions are telling me to do, and I'm going to let this go. And I think, to me, I don't know about you guys, but to me, that is the greatest strength, where you say, I'm going against everything that my anger is telling me right now. I'm going against everything that I'm feeling, every pain, every ache, and every I want to kill that I'm going through right now, and I'm gonna forgive. Do you know how much it
Yeah.
takes for you to say that? Hey, it takes energy. It really takes energy, and I think that's where people do not do not do not choose, because it in itself, it's hard. It's not easy to say, to go against what you're feeling, especially when your blood is hot. Do you know when your blood is your blood is telling you, if your blood is there, your blood is there, it's bubbling, it's bubbling,
Y-
and it's telling you,
yeah,
I'm gonna kill you, you know. That's,
yeah.
it takes a lot, it takes a lot. What's your thoughts, Eve?
Um, you see, one of the reasons as to why people actually enter into conflict is something called the cognitive dissonance. Like your beliefs and mine are different. So I will do something or you will do something.
Mm-hmm.
Your values and your beliefs tell you that you're right, and my beliefs and my values tell me that I'm right. So
Mm-hmm.
the reason as to why like forgiveness is really hard is because like if I don't come and apologize to you, Victoria, or you don't come and apologize to me because you believe that you're right,
Mm-hmm.
there's that conflict. Like your mind is telling you that I
Mm-hmm.
am right.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I go and ask for forgiveness?
Mm-hmm.
And your mind is telling you the same thing. So there's that conflict in beliefs, and that's one of the reasons as to why
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard to seek for ask for forgiveness or even forgive people. Because and now when it comes to forgiveness, you have to let go and you have to change. Sometimes whatever you believe is different. Whatever you believe is different from the other person, and if that person feels that you hurt them, the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing is to apologize. And even if that other person doesn't agree that they hurt you, it is
Mm-hmm.
all up to you to let go of those negative emotions, because if you do not let go, you're going to hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I think this
Yeah.
is where this kind of leads us to the third question, right? What are the
Hmm.
reasons why we find it hard to forgive ourselves? And I'm gonna quickly start out, Eve. I'm gonna start
Hmm.
out by, again, from a psychological perspective, and because I've been also researching on this topic.
Yeah.
Anywho, um,
Hmm.
a lot of us usually have these thoughts around ourselves, right? And we think in a specific way. We have our self identity, we have our, how we perceive ourselves, and
Hmm.
we have thoughts that also bring us to deception, right? And we deceive ourselves in the sense that, number one, we expect too much of ourselves, um,
Hmm.
than other people. So what do I mean by
Yeah.
this? It's called exceptionalism. So what exceptionalism states is that you are holding yourself to a standard that you wouldn't normally hold others to. And I say this in the sense that, let's say, for instance, I've done someone wrong. I have done Eve wrong. And how I would behave when Eve does something wrong to me. I am those people who quickly forgive. I am very fast to forgive. But when I was also researching and I was reading about all this, I realized that I do have tendencies of exceptionalism where, if it's me that is doing the wrong thing, or if I hurt myself, or if I do something that is outside of who I am, I tend to have a hard time forgiving myself. Why? Because I hold myself to a very high standard, of which I would probably not hold Eve to. I would probably not hold Eve to the same standard where I expect her to be perfect. And again, exceptionalism is very close to perfectionism, where you think that you should not do anything wrong, you should not make mistakes, you should not behave in certain ways, and you hold yourself in such high moral standard, that you probably wouldn't hold others to. And that is one reason
Hmm.
why we find it hard to forgive ourselves, exceptionalism. Now, sorry.
Sorry.
Now, the other thing, is that, um, you also are in, uh, it's called, not exceptionalism, I just said that, expansionism. Expansionism. So what
Hmm.
expansionism tells us is that you literally are living in a situation where you overestimate your zone of responsibility. So sometimes when we do things, let's say for instance, if someone else does something, and
Mm-hmm.
in this case, the team of responding to life, right? And then I would probably place myself in a situation where I take full responsibility for everybody's actions, right? And if let's say something happens one day, is that one day it happens that Eve does something wrong, right? And it in
Mm-hmm.
effect comes and affects responding to life in one way or another. I would have a hard time forgiving myself because I feel that I have responsibility over Eve. I have
Mm-hmm.
responsibility over Jacob. I have responsibility over Imani, and so on and so forth. So if Imani or Eve or Jacob or whoever in responding to life does something wrong, then I end up blaming myself. I end up coming back and beating myself down because I feel that because I'm up here, I'm the founder, then I'm supposed to answer for everybody's actions. Forgetting that other people's actions does not equate me. It's um people's actions, even though people are within my bubble of responding to life, their actions should not be an implication of how I should feel about myself. And that is what a lot of people do. Let's say, for instance, friends, for instance, if Eve does something wrong and I feel that I'm the responsible one, right? The responsible one. In turn, I end up feeling that, or and she does something that affects our group of friends, or it affects her and my friendship. Then I in turn now expand my realm of responsibility to her and say that, hey Bana, it was me. And this is what I did in my relationship, the example that I gave you, right?
Uh,
This is what I did in my former relationship, where I now didn't get clarity over why this person is all of a sudden leaving. But what I decide to do now is now think,
mhm,
oh, it is my fault because I should have been a good woman, I should have been this and that, I should have behaved like this and like that, not knowing that the decisions of others should not now fall back on me. And this is something that we deceive ourselves, right? These are things
mhm,
that make us, self deception also makes us feel not forgive ourselves, not forgive ourselves. So think about this and think about, are you holding yourself to higher standard than you should hold yourself to? Or are you in a situation where you are expanding your responsibility further than what it should be? Because this could be the reason as to why you're not forgiving yourself. And Eve has done that thing. Eve has done that thing. This could be the reason as to why you are not forgiving yourself. And and this is very important. Why? Because a lot of us usually don't understand why it's so hard to forgive ourselves. We don't seek to dig deeper into, hey, why am I blaming myself? Why am I doing this? We don't understand these concepts. But hopefully at the end of today you'll be able to understand this concept. What do you think about this, Eve?
yeah. Well, I actually agree with you. And you see, one thing I have gotten from the expansionism. Am I saying it right? It is so true. Like, you want to be responsible for other people's actions, and in the true sense, the only person you're responsible for, or you're even able to control, is yourself. Any other person, it doesn't matter whether you're a leader or any other person, like, and then as a leader, you're supposed to give every single person room to be themselves, meaning that they will come with different beliefs, different characteristics, different personalities. So if someone decides to mess up, or something happens and they make a mistake, taking all that burden and putting it on yourself, that is even emotionally, physically, mentally draining, and it's not good for your mental health. And we're here to help you be self-aware and understand that there are things that you are in control of, and there are other things that you're not in control of.
And now I can see we're having so many comments. But before we go into
Mhm.
those comment sections, in the comment section. I want us to watch a small video that we did for Wisdom Wednesday, and then as I quickly cough up and I want Eve to also remember. I've been told that nakunywa chai peke yangu ni kualike chai, si ndio?
Yes, yes, yes. Ikuje.
um, before that, we will be back right after the break. Hello, everybody. My name is Victoria Nkatha from Responding to Life, and today is Wisdom Wednesday. Now, today's word of the day is all about forgiving other people and yourself as well. Now, more often than not, people think that people should earn their forgiveness, while they don't realize that the more you hold on to grudges, the more you're hurting yourself. You're holding on to something, and somebody's somewhere enjoying their life, not even worried because they've made peace with the fact that they made a mistake, and you know what, they're apologetic, but the fact that they haven't come to you doesn't mean that they haven't made peace with that. Now, one of the hardest bits about this is actually forgiving oneself. How do you even get to forgiving yourself for whatever that you think you may have done wrong? This is usually the hardest part, but it is important. So join us tonight, Eve and I, as we discuss this on Wisdom Wednesdays on Responding to Life. Have a good day. And we are back again. Nimekohoa lakini kikohozi bado iko hapo. Anywho,
Pole sana.
let's quickly go on to the questions and so on. Now,
Mhm.
hey Eve, we're ready to tackle these questions, handle them, and respond to life, right? So
Yeah.
we'll start slowly. We have two more points to go on. We're also going to discuss how to get to that self healing process. But before then, we'll just answer quickly, go into the questions. Now,
Mhm.
Nakabi GK Kamal says the other problem with forgiveness is that we think it's weak. Yes. We think negative emotions and destructive words are powerful. Truth is, rage, bitterness, jealousy, and resentment actually weaken us as they destroy us and those we love in the end. And that is what we discussed earlier on. And we said that a lot of, more often than not, niliambiwa niachange kusema a lot of times, more often than
Yeah.
a lot of us think that it's better to fight, to wage war one on one, and
Mhm.
to actually respond to our natural emotions that depict that we should attack when attacked, right? We should fight
Yeah.
or what, and that's what we
Mhm.
all think. Um,
Victoria, may I also
yeah,
answer?
of course.
One thing I came to understand, you see, when you express your rage and bitterness and jealousy, one thing I came to realize is that it exposes your weaknesses. You may think that you're strong, but it exposes your weaknesses. And like if you have listened to that story I gave, it actually exposed me for not being able to handle or process emotions well, and even expecting perfectionism from other people. And that taught me a lesson. When you do something vengeful because you're not able to forgive someone else, the only person it exposes, or if you respond to someone else negatively with a negative emotion, what happens is that it exposes your weaknesses. And you may think that you may look strong by talking dirty, or even like telling, like you want to show people like how strong you are, or you want to get into a physical fight. To be honest, you are looking weak at that moment, and what you're doing is that you're exposing yourself to everyone else to see what is inside you. That is what you're exposing. Yeah. We can continue with the comment section.
Exactly, and I like what you added there. It's really exposing what's inside of you, and we really need to some degree, fight against that. We need to fight against,
Yeah.
and it's usually very hard, right? So, um, awakening the life within you says, how does our unwillingness to forgive ourselves make us victims? Whew, this is a long one. This is she's already
Yeah.
filling a whole can of load to discuss. Now, how does it make us victims? It's we will constantly blame ourselves. That's number one. And at times
Mm,
it will get to that narrative of, I am not good enough, I am not this and that, and everything I do is not good. And you see, this
mm,
is not playing the victim, this is being the victim actually. You will
yeah.
constantly look at situations and you'll bring yourself back to a point of, I am not good enough. Oh, what I did last time. So now, for instance, again, in this relationship, I'm going to use myself a lot as an example. For instance, in this relationship that I was in, if I
Mm-hmm.
take that mentality and I push it forward to my next relationship, to my current relationship, to my, I will constantly
Mm-hmm.
be like, oh, so the other one left. And that's what I did actually. And when I got into a relationship right after that, I did that and I messed up my relationship.
Wow.
I kid you not, I did. I messed up my relationship. Where I was like, well, I'm not good enough. Well, this person did this to me. And no, 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 it was all my fault. And now I am again going back to the exceptionalism where I want to hold myself on such a high standard, perfectionism, that I won't even be able to be human. Every single thing that I
Mm,
do, I will be holding a magnifying glass towards all my moves, towards all my actions, towards everything that I say, everything that I do. And this now changes to a point of, if anything happens, it's no, 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 I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. Even if we have an argument with my person, it will get to a
mm,
point where I'm like, I am not good enough. Oh, I know I did this, I did that. That is how you're going to live. That is how you're going to live. And you don't want to get to that point. And that's the extreme. It's the extreme point.
mm.
That is the extreme,
Yeah.
and it can
And
get
that is
over time. Go on.
Mm. Uh, and that is one of the things that makes us really it it makes it hard for us to forgive others and ourselves is we like to ruminate on the problem. We want to focus on the problem and we want to stay there. And this is very dangerous, even mentally. And you'll find that it can cause you to be anxious, like what Victoria was explaining right now. Like you start getting anxious, and every single time you're about to make a decision you do not have self trust. And that's one of the most important reasons for you to forgive others and yourself, because you will reinstate the trust in yourself to make a better choice. And let me tell you something, every time you make a mistake it is a learning moment. It's a learning moment. Like, don't see it as the last result. you know it's your chance to understand something that's going on, that you can be able to work or make a better choice in the future. But if you focus on the problem, and you will stick there and you'll not be able to trust yourself to make any decision in the future.
And that's very true. Now let's go on to the next comment. The next comment is from Kay. Kay says, for me, it's the feeling of guilt and shame when I make a mistake that makes it hard for me to forgive myself. And you see, Kay, where? Homer. Jesus, sorry guys.
Well,
it's and that's what we were discussing in terms of exceptionalism. And you see, that feeling of guilt and shame is you, and you thinking, or rather you, whenever you make a mistake, it's you holding yourself to a very high standard, because everyone can make mistakes. It's you not accepting the fact that it's normal, it's okay, and it's human to make mistakes. When you set yourself up for a situation where you should not, I'm like that. This is me speaking. I really am speaking about myself and what I've been going through. um it's really a hard thing, because when you think that you're supposed to be so good, you're supposed to be so perfect, you're not supposed to fail in
mm,
school, you're not supposed to fail at being a good woman, you're not supposed to fail at being a good man, you're not supposed to fail at being doing, responding to life, you're not supposed to fail in relationship, you're not supposed to fail in spirituality. The moment you feel like you've
mm,
not been your best, or you sin, there's some of us, once we make a small mistake, or once we sin, or once we find ourselves short, falling short, we feel that we deserve nothing, we deserve the worst of the worst. And this is a problem, this is a big problem. So
mm,
when you start, I'm not saying that you should be okay with making mistakes on and on, but accept the fact that it's part of being human, and mistakes are there to learn, to teach you. You're there to be taught through your mistakes, and accepting the fact that, okay, you know what, this didn't work out. I got to that point where I started accepting the fact that, you know what, this didn't work out. Well, until I had an accident lately. And I started blaming myself again. Anyway, that's not the point. That's not the point. I'm still working on this. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it. But getting to that point where you accept and you say that, you know what, it's fine. So what can I do take from here? If it's a business that went wrong and you made a mistake, let's say you put in 10,000 instead of putting 5,000, and then you'll take Aisha. You know that, hey, next time let me mitigate my losses by setting in 5,000. That way I won't lose so much cash, right? I will not
Mm,
lose so much money. And looking at life in that perspective, in that angle of where you're now responding to life, which brings us to the fourth question in terms of how to deal with this. We even forgot our question: how do we begin the healing process? Beginning the healing process is accepting the fact that you're not perfect. You are not perfect. You will never be perfect, but we are constantly working on ourselves to be better each and every day. But that comes with the fact that you are going to make mistakes. Do not beat yourself up. Do not beat yourself up.
mm,
It is okay. You're not the only human being. Think of about 7 billion people on this earth. And all of them, if they constantly hold themselves to such a high standard, will we have the world as it is? No. Things
no.
happen every single day. And you've not killed anyone. What about the person who killed someone? You're thinking,
Yeah.
thinking about our relationship, if they're thinking about our business, but somebody is in prison because they've killed. I'm not saying you should go kill anyone. I'm saying think about think about certain. You will be okay. You will be fine,
Yeah.
and you will survive
Mm,
it. You will get through it. Um,
mm.
if we want to quickly go through the comments, people read me. I have trouble reaching into myself. I'm gonna read you, Benson. Let's see the fact that forgiveness, like self-development, self-assessment, self everything, self everything else personal. I'm laughing because I can see some handwriting here. Are things people say you need to do, but no one says
Yeah.
how you do it. Yes, I need to forgive myself, but how do I do that? Where do I start? This is where we're going into the ability to accept. The ability to accept. Eve, go ahead.
Um, the first thing you do is, first of all, be calm. Calm your mind, calm your thoughts. Calm yourself down first. Because you will not be able to process whatever is going on if you're not calm. Meaning, the reason why you need to forgive yourself or forgive someone is because you've gone through, someone has either hurt you or you've done something that is making you feel like you have hurt yourself. Sorry. So, meaning the first thing you do is calm yourself down. The next thing, remind yourself what forgiveness means. It means letting go of these emotions, the negative emotions, the anger, the resentment, the bitterness. The third thing, what you do is you acknowledge what has happened, the actions or anything that has gone on. Acknowledge what has happened. Be honest with yourself. If you're the one who has done the hurting, acknowledge whatever has gone on. And the fourth thing, what you do is that apologize. Apologize to yourself, apologize to the person you've hurt. And sometimes you think that when you apologize to someone that you just it's only going to benefit them, but in the true sense it benefits you as well. It's for your own benefit. Apologize to this person, show compassion, show empathy and understand where they're coming from. And from there, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself, because at the end of it all, you're just human. Accept your imperfection. Yeah, your imperfections, whatever you're weak at, you can work on it. And you cannot be able to work on it without acknowledging the fact that you have done something wrong. Yeah, if you follow that process, you're going to be able to it's and if you remember this process, it's going to help you when such a thing happens, because at that moment you have these heavy emotions of either you're angry and you're bitter, like remind yourself this process. First of all, calm down. If you don't calm down, you'll not be able to acknowledge anything. Yeah.
And I think those are the most important thing. Calm down, accept, and let go. I mean, we started out by defining forgiveness, which is, again, very, very important. Defining forgiveness, it's letting go of feelings of hatred towards yourself, right? And you need to let go of feelings, sorry, feelings of hatred towards the situation, and towards the person who has done you wrong. In this case, yourself. And Steve Patet, oh, hi. Steve Patet goes on to say, I think it's hard to forgive oneself because we have a higher expectation. We have high expectations of ourselves. Yes, we do. We really do.
Mm.
And that is, well, some people don't, but yes. So some people, but most people who have a hard time forgiving themselves really
Yeah.
do um, have very high expectations towards themselves. Jacob goes on to say, it's harder to forgive myself because I always think about myself more than I think of others, not in a selfish way. So I might forgive, but it comes harder at the forgetting part. Well, this is why we are here. Forgiving is letting go. And when you let go, this is
Mm.
the thing. When you let go, you are saying that Imesha, and you really are letting go of those emotions. You're letting go. It's not going to be a situation where you pass by somewhere and you just think, ha, whoa, whoa. You just think, what?
You know what happens is that if you see something that reminds you of that person, or that person who hurt you, or even a mistake that you did,
Hmm.
it will bring back that negative emotion. And that is when you realize you haven't forgiven that person. It will
Exactly.
bring back it's like it has just happened to you right now. Who wants to go through that every single minute?
No, no, every time you think about it, you're like, yeah, yeah, no, 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 you don't want that. You don't want that. And that's why
Yeah.
forgiveness goes really hand in hand with forgetting. If you forgive, if you
Mm,
truly, truly forgive, again, deliberately, the words, the words to take home from today is deliberately, deciding. And with that,
mm,
we can summarize in one word: intentionally, intentionally,
yeah.
intentionally deciding
Mm,
that, boom, Jacob, I am here. I am going to let go of the fact that yesterday I ate somebody's sandwich and I didn't like how it tasted, and I didn't like myself because I stole it from somebody's backpack. I will forgive myself. Why I check out? Do you know that today you say that, Victoria, hey, today I made a mess, but you know what? I am letting go. I'm taking the lessons that I took from then, and then we're moving forward. We're forging forward and becoming better. That is very, very important, because once you keep on remembering, my sister, my brother, you will remember until kingdom come. You will not even, you will not move on. You won't move on. Kate
yeah.
says, it's very easy to show grace to other people, but not to yourself. And that's true. That
Mm,
is very true. She says, for me, it's the feelings like guilt and shame that make it hard for me to forgive myself. Like I beat myself too much. And that's what you shouldn't do, which goes hand in hand with what we discussed earlier. Do not, do not beat yourself up for anything. There's nothing in this world that would make you constantly take jabs at yourself. It's hard enough for
mm,
those of us who are walking this earth that get on jabbed at for one reason or the other. You do not want to include yourself in the jabbing. You don't want to bring yourself to that
yeah.
position where you're fighting with things on earth, and every single day you walk out of the house, you're having to deal with situations. You don't want to now bring a fight within, because you're going to project outside and you're going to have a hard time responding to life. Literally, you're going to have a hard time responding to life, and you don't want that. You really do not
Yeah.
want that. Um, what,
Mm.
what are your thoughts, Eve, before we go on to the next comment? I'm running through because of time. Go on.
Yeah. One thing, oh my God.
Don't worry.
Nimepotea.
We'll take it. Don't worry, it happens. Forgive
I'll
yourself.
get it. I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Forgive yourself for it. Don't beat
Yeah.
yourself up for it. You're doing great. You're doing great. Forgive
Mm,
yourself for it.
mm,
Now, Yokabi
mm.
says, how has hurt changed us? Oh, Akin Yokabi, with these questions that it will take another hour. It it'll take another hour because sometimes we
Mm.
get too hurt and are unable to process the pain. Could that result in not being able to forgive ourselves? Like, for example, in the case of rape, one feels responsible for what happens. And Akinyo Kabi, this is gonna take me not the 4 minutes to count. So for everybody
Mm.
watching, we are about to go over time just a little bit. Now, how does hurt change us? Because sometimes we get too hurt and are unable to process the pain. Hurt is the genesis of unforgiveness.
Yeah,
Hurt is the genesis of unforgiveness. Hurt and pain, whether inflicted to us by other people or inflicted to us by ourselves, is the genesis of us feeling shame, feeling sad, feeling angry, feeling there's no negative emotion that comes within us except jealousy. Hey, na venye nachukanga jealousy.
I
Then
mean,
no negative emotion that comes to us that is not inflicted by pain.
mm.
None. None that I can think of at least, except jealousy. Jealousy unajua inakwaga that's a special emotion. But anger, anger, sadness, vengeance. You want to revenge. It's because somebody or you have done something bad to yourself, and you now sit down to think that I this is not okay, and you don't want to forgive yourself or you don't want to forgive other people. And hurt is. Have you ever heard the saying that goes, "Hell hath no fury than a woman scorned"? Do you know?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
leave alone men. Now imagine hurting a woman. Me, I was hurt, and I love using my. I'm gonna use myself as an example because this is a lesson I learned the hard way. I
yeah,
was heartbroken, Yokabi, and everyone else, and I was a different person. You asked how it changes you. It makes you bitter. Hurt can
yeah,
make you a bitter person. Hurt can make you a really unapproachable person. It got to a
yeah.
point where I was busting out of anger at everybody. The minute somebody says, especially towards men, the moment I heard somebody say something or bring nonsense to me, I would pass with them. As in, I would just,
Mhm.
just because I would bust so much unprovoked, unprovoked, and that's what hurt does to us. That is because we haven't forgiven. Now you gave
Did
an
you
example.
realize,
Yeah.
sorry, did you realize that during that process where you got really hurt, did you realize that you also hurt yourself?
Yes,
Like,
very much.
yeah, you really hurt yourself, and
Very
you do things even not caring how it's going to affect you, how it's going to affect your goals. You don't even have purpose anymore. Like, you find that you are in that, you're resonating on that, you're ruminating, I mean, on that problem, and everything else is zero. You not everything, like, your point of decision making is based on that problem,
hmm
and that's dangerous even for yourself.
hmm And that's the thing. I mean, she gave an example of a rape situation, and a lot of people, especially those kind of hurts and those kind of pains, really go deep, and they really
Yeah.
zinaendaga yani they really, I wouldn't say they take over. They take over your entire being and they change your perception of yourself. You now
Mm.
look at yourself as irredeemable. There's some of us, once we make certain mistakes or once we go through certain situations or once people do certain things, we shift so much. We make a whole 360 that we get to a point of being irredeemable because you can't take us back again. And that is
Mm.
because we choose not to let go. And I know some things are harder to let go than others, but eventually you need to let go so that you can be able to move forward with your life. Most people who experience trauma, for instance, who experience trauma cannot move on, not because of the fact that it is there, it's because most of them haven't let go of what has happened. Let's say, for instance, you live again, rape being one good example, or you having seen or experienced domestic abuse, or domestic violence, you do not let go of that experience, and therefore it comes back to you honestly every time, and it messes you up to a certain level that you're living in the trauma, or rather the trauma is following you simply because it is still with you. It is still with you, and you're not forgiving. You're not deliberately making a choice. You're not intentionally making a choice to let go. And it's so hard. It is so hard, I understand. And we started by saying the beginning of that healing process, the beginning of you letting go of certain things, is for you to accept that it has happened. Number one, accept that
Mhm.
it has happened. Number two, accept the fact that things happen in life, and mistakes do happen, and we move on. Acceptance. So many things heal because of acceptance, even
Yeah.
within you. So much will heal once you accept the fact that, hey, Victoria, you went through this. You did certain things that you were not happy about. And you know what?
Mhm.
I forgive myself. I accept the fact that I had to do that at that point, maybe, or it happened and I wasn't in control of that situation. But here I am, and I don't want this to affect me any further. What I'll do is that I'll decide and I'll deliberately choose to let go. That is what I'm going to do. That is exactly what I'm going to do. And that starts a process. And now
Mhm.
we go back to a question that says, how do we constantly remind ourselves to forgive ourselves? It is by having this attitude of self-assessment. Yokabi talked about it in Awakening the Life in You. Constantly self-assessing after every single day. What I do is that I reflect on my days. I started by reflecting on months. How has my month gone? How has my month been? And then I realized that's not enough. It's too much information to it's too much information. Then I did it.
Mhm.
I can't assess each and every day. I can't go back to each and every situation. It's monthly assessments are too much. Then and then also I have so many aspects of my life. I have my emotional, my physical, my spiritual, my there's a lot of my academical. There's a lot of aspects of my life that are included in this self-assessment. Now I went to weekly assessments, which were really helped by journaling. But then I realized, okay, this is too professional. It becomes too professional because I ended up really assessing just the professional aspects. I wasn't really assessing my emotions. So now I got to a point where I now assess my emotions. Like yesterday, for those who know, my laptop really, hey, I know the team is laughing at me for mentioning this. Some of them said that I sat on my laptop and then it messed up. But anyhow, that's not the point. So they know very well what was happening. And two of them helped me through the process because I was so
Mhm.
frustrated. I didn't know what to do because now we had not had content for responding to life. We had not, and I wasn't around my work computer at all. I didn't know what to do. So I was very conflicted. I was so confused. And I felt bad because I felt as if I was part of a situation that I could have avoided, right?
Mhm.
I had probably, and we didn't know exactly what happened. So I was thinking, what if I had put it somewhere else, right? What if I had placed it somewhere else? This wouldn't have happened. And I started asking myself these questions, and that's why I tell you that this is a process. This is a process. It's not me coming to tell you that I'm there, I'm 100%. No, it's a process. It's a process, and it's constantly reminding yourself, hey, Bana, relax. So when I assessed myself yesterday night, and I thought, hey, did I really deal with that well? Have I forgiven myself for what has happened? Okay, so now what am I gonna do, and how do I move on? I feel like this. How do I move on? Self-assessment, daily self-assessment, especially on situations or even in moments. In that moment, I remember talking to one person, and two people from the team, and after that conversation that we had on the WhatsApp call, I sat down and I asked myself a few questions, and I was like, you know what, it's not the end of the world. And one of them even asked me, one called me later and told me this, and I thank them for asking me these questions. He asked me, Victoria, do you have a roof over your head? And I said yes. Victoria, do you have food on your table? Do you have to worry about where you're getting your food today? And I said, no.
Mhm.
And he then asked me, are you walking around naked right now? And I said, no. And he told me, then, my darling, go home and relax. He
Mm.
told me, go
That's
home and
nice.
relax. He said, go
Mm.
home and sit down. The rest will handle itself. And you see,
Mhm.
those moments of self reflection and assessment can really help you remember to forgive yourself. Now, Eve, what have you learned today?
Maybe I can give another tip on how you can
Yeah.
constantly remind yourself. And what you can do is that don't push yourself. Don't push yourself too hard. Sometimes, like when something goes wrong, uh, sometimes pull back, assess the whole thing, and then make a decision from there. So don't push yourself too hard. And also, if for example, maybe I had a point for Nyokabi. When you go through a trauma that is so tough and difficult, as we have said, the process of forgiveness is a process, and sometimes it's lengthy depending on whatever happened to you. And if it's a traumatic event, it is good to seek a professional help. Seek a professional to help you through this process, because as we said, in the process of how you can start the forgiveness process, one of them is acknowledging and actually analyzing whatever happened. And the process, the thing that makes people not able to forgive themselves or even others, especially when it comes to trauma, is because they're not able to process what happened. They're not able to even think about it, you know. And that's why it is important to have a professional who can help you during such a difficult traumatic event. And let me tell you something, there's nothing on this earth that hasn't happened. Like, no mistake, like no mistake that you've ever done, nothing that you have gone through hasn't happened to someone else on this earth. And every time you remind yourself that, it tells you that the answers are out here. So, meaning that, just be patient with yourself, be loving to yourself, and remember, you're not perfect, but we grow, we learn, we improve with time.
And I think that really lovely summarizes everything that we've been discussing today. And because we're so much over time, Ruth Kingora says, not forgiving is like taking poison and expecting it to kill the other person. And sometimes
Yeah.
we take it for ourselves and it eventually ends up killing us. And we don't want that. So, with that said, continue the conversation in the comment section and let us know what you learned today. And as you go, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself.
Mm,
And even as you forgive others, one of the hardest things to do is looking internally and thinking about who you are, what you've done, what has happened to you, and start by accepting. And as you accept, go on to letting go. And as you let go, move on with your life and learn. Learn. So it's accepting, it's letting go, and it's learning, so that you don't end up in the same situation. That is how you start to forgive yourself. So, in every situation that you're in, accept what has happened, accept the fact that you're not in control, accept the fact that sometimes things go bad. When you accept, you let go. Let go of the fact that you feel hurt. Let go of the fact that you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry. Let go of that. Let go of it. And it's okay. It's okay to feel it, but
yeah.
don't dwell in it. Do not dwell in negative emotions. Emotional agility. Remember, as you go, I'm going to leave you with another new word. Today we've learned intentionality, and I'm giving you another one, emotional agility. And emotional agility is the ability to deal with hard emotions without it negatively affecting who you are as a person and how you deal with life. So when we're letting go, we are having the emotional agility to go through those hard emotions, and we are deciding to deliberately let it go, let it go, and losing those hard emotions because we do not want to dwell there. And the third thing is that we learn. We learn from the process, we learn from the situation, we learn from what has happened so that we can be able to mitigate it in the future. With that said, Eve, tell us what is your name, where can we find you, and
Before I tell you what my name is, I'd like to remind you something. If you do not forgive others and you don't forgive yourself, you are hurting yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. And we do not want that. That's why we're here. And my name is The Angel Eve. You can find my YouTube channel, The Angel Arts and Entertainment TV. On Twitter, my name is The Angel Eve. On Facebook is Eve the Angel. On Instagram is the Angel Welling. And on that said, it was lovely having a conversation with you.
Mhm.
Have a lovely night.
Thank you. Have a good one. My name is Victoria Nkata, and we will see you on Sunday on Our Way Talks. Even I will still be there on Sunday together with Sharifa. So have a blessed
Yeah.
one, and good evening, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are.